Back in the 2000s, the kings of mobile phones were Nokia, BlackBerry, and Ericsson. They were everywhere. Nokia alone sold over 300 million phones a year. These companies had the factories, the brand, the money, and the customers. They had everything. Then in 2007, Apple released the iPhone. And here's the crazy part. Touch screen technology already existed before that. It wasn't some secret invention only Apple had access to. The big players had access to similar tech too. But they didn't believe the market was ready for it. They thought people wanted physical keyboards and small, efficient phones for calls and texts. They were wrong. The market didn't just want a phone anymore, it wanted a smartphone, a device that could replace your camera, your music player, your maps, your computer. And the companies that refused to adapt, Nokia, BlackBerry, they collapsed. Not because they lacked resources, but because they missed the pivot. So why am I telling you that? Because I believe the exact same pattern is happening right now in front of our eyes with a new piece of technology, XR glasses. And in this video, we're going to look at the history of this technology, understand why it failed for decades, why it's suddenly working now, and most importantly, what this means for the next generation of entrepreneurs who want to catch this wave early. Virtual reality is not a new idea, not even close. The concept actually goes back to 1968, when the first head-mounted display was built. It was so heavy it had to be hung from the ceiling. People literally called it the Sword of Damocles. Then in the 1990s, Nintendo tried to bring VR to the mass market with the Virtual Boy. It failed badly. Why? Because the technology simply wasn't ready. It gave people headaches, the graphics were just red and black, and there was barely any real content to use it for. In the 2000s, VR survived only in professional niches, military training, flight simulators, medical research, useful, but completely invisible to regular consumers. Then in 2010, something changed. A teenager named Palmer Luckey built a prototype that became the Oculus Rift, and this one actually succeeded, at least enough to get noticed. Why did it work this time when Nintendo had failed? Because screen technology had massively improved, processing power was finally strong enough, and a real gaming community was hungry for it. But right around the same time, in 2013, Google tried something different with Google Glass, and it became one of the most famous tech failures in history. Why did it fail? Pricing was way too high for what it offered. The use case wasn't clear. What problem was it actually solving for the average person? And there was a massive privacy backlash. People felt like they were being secretly filmed in public. So here's the pattern so far. The technology needs to be ready, the price needs to make sense, and there needs to be a real obvious problem it's solving. Miss any one of those, and you fail, no matter how big your company is. Then we arrive at 2020 and everything starts shifting. Meta, through its Oculus, now MetaQuest brand, releases a headset that actually succeeds at scale. Why this time? A few reasons. The price finally became reasonable for a mainstream consumer. The hardware quality kept improving year after year. And Mark Zuckerberg personally invested billions of dollars into this bet, treating it as the future of his entire company. But headsets were still bulky. Still something you put on at home, not something you wear outside. So Meta did something smart. They partnered with Ray-Ban, a brand people already trust and already wear, and created smart glasses that look completely normal. No bulky headset, just glasses. And recently, they released the Meta Ray-Ban display, glasses with an actual screen built into the lens. And this is where the story really gets interesting, because right now, in 2026, we are seeing the exact same signal we saw with smartphones back in 2007. Every major company is rushing into this space at the same time. As you can see from this history, there are clear signs that a market is about to explode. Let's break down the main factors. First, the big players are entering. When giants like Google, Samsung, and Apple all move into a space at once, that's rarely a coincidence. It usually means they all see the same wave coming. Second, production costs are dropping, better chips, smaller cameras, more efficient batteries. All of this is getting cheaper every year, which means the final product can finally be priced for normal people, not just early adopters with deep pockets. Third, the product keeps improving daily use. Early VR was about gaming and entertainment. Today's glasses are about everyday usefulness: navigation, translation, notifications, taking photos hands free. Fourth, professionals adopted it first. Just like touch screens were used in professional devices before smartphones, XR glasses were used by developers and enterprises before reaching the mass market. And fifth, Google is building the operating system. Google developed Android XR and is partnering with Samsung and eyewear brands like Warby Parker and Gentle Monster to launch real consumer glasses. 5. The big signal. Everyone is moving at once. Here's the part that should really catch your attention. Right now, in 2026, Google is developing Android XR and launching glasses with Samsung. Apple is reportedly preparing its own version, expected around 2027. And Meta keeps investing heavily in this space, pushing the Ray-Ban display line further. When you see this many major companies entering the same category at almost the same time, that's historically one of the strongest signals that a brand new market is about to become mainstream. This is exactly what happened right before the smartphone exploded. So here's my takeaway from all of this. The winning solution won't be the one with the flashiest technology. It will be the one that solves a real, everyday problem at a price people are actually willing to pay, with a smooth, simple experience. The factors to watch are falling production costs and the creation of a real developer ecosystem, like what Google is building with Android XR. If you're an entrepreneur, a developer, or just someone watching where the next big platform shift is happening, this is the moment to start paying attention. Because just like in 2007, the people who understood the smartphone shift early built massive businesses around it: apps, accessories, content, entire companies.